by citizens and people who are here legally, not by people who are undocumented immigrants. Yes, we have extreme examples that have been brought out nationally and perhaps by you. But the majority of crimes in this community are by citizens and people who are here legally, and that you're concentrating your efforts in a very important position, working with ICE really gets the community going. And I hear lots of community aggravation about that and questioning. So that'll lead me into perhaps you might want to reconsider and start paying more attention to what we are thinking is the problem. And let me segue that into something that you said earlier. You said that you would allow us to come into the House of Correction, to the houses of correction. I accept your offer. I'm an attorney. I've had lots of opportunity to interview people over the years. I think Bruce can attest to the fact that I was a prosecutor once. So I've had a lot of experience. I would welcome the opportunity, and I accept your invitation, and I'd like to work that out.
Awesome. You're going to do that.
I'd like to come in and spend the day. Okay, I want to do that.
Yeah, and if I may just respond to a couple of your points. The first of which is your recent comment was that more crimes are committed by the American citizens percentage-wise than are illegals. Just been report just came out, so that's absolutely not true because let me finish. What's not? Excuse me. Excuse me. You know what? I'm answering this woman's question. I don't need you to. I asked you not to yell out. Okay? If you listen, give me a chance to answer. She has the mic. Now, what they've determined is what has not been factored in is all the fraud that's going on. And we're going to be breaking something before too terribly long that's going to shake the ground about a lot of what's been going on with fraud in regards to illegal immigration. And it's going to be coming before you know it. And here's the thing. Fraud, as you know, having somebody else's social security number, stealing somebody's identity, is a felony under state law, right? Is that right?
Yes.
So, do you have any idea how much fraud is going on in regards to illegal immigration across this country?
No, and okay. I'm sure that nobody in this room does know exactly. You just said it's under investigation. It's easy to say they are. I have read lots of statistics about who commits crimes. But the point I want to make is that your community, we elected you, some of us, we were elected. We are concerned that you are giving your time and your energy to ICE, where we don't see that as a risk here. Maybe there are other states or other communities that are having those problems. We are not.
Well, let me just explain something then to help you out. I just came back from the border.
Yes.
The border agent that I was speaking to in McAllen said, you do know MS-13 is taking over Massachusetts, right? And we do know that because we have more in our facility. And we have our boots on the ground. We hear people are looking at this, this statistic, that statistic, and you can turn them any which way you want, depending on what your views are. Me and you included, whether we agree or not. The point is, we're not in the business of making things up. We don't want to be spending our time chasing things around because we think it's just fun. We're worried about the people of our community. And the idea that there's not a problem in Bristol County, there's a big problem in Bristol County, and the Cape, and so forth. Now, so all I'm saying is, look, you and I may not agree on certain things, but I can tell you, I've been working on immigration reform for 20 years. I've been immersed in it more than most people, and I know it inside out. And I've watched it evolve, I've watched what's been going on, and I've watched what's happened. And when I was down at the processing facility in McAllen, Texas, I can tell you, I've been to the border 4 times. It is as bad as I've ever seen it. And if you walked in there, you would be shocked at what's going on.
I would probably agree with you, but we're not. How far are we from the border?
Well,
3,000 miles?
I'm glad you asked that question. 2,200. Here's the answer to your question. For 2,200 miles.
2,200 miles. I don't think that is. But by the
way,
let
me ask you
what I am identifying is why so many people are so upset with you. And why these accusations?
Well, I don't know that so many are, but
okay,
the way I would say.
But let me get to my next.
Well, can I just answer your point? You made a point about you don't think it's happening here, right?
I didn't say that.
No, you said.
I said I'm talking about statistically.
Okay, wait a minute.
The risk to this community, you want to keep us safe.
So let me give you a statistic.
The risk is recidivism. It's not providing rehabilitation, reentry programs, and I don't think that necessarily you are meeting that obligation. But I have a way that we're going to be able to know 2 things. Number 1, the Criminal Reform Act. I would like to know how you are implementing that with your staff, with your legal staff, the various things. And let me just quote you one thing, and I'd like to know how you are actually addressing this particular new law in Massachusetts, which I presume you or your staff are familiar with. This is pursuant to Chapter 126, Section 84. The sheriff shall record without limitation the following data for each person committed to a jail or house of correction. And it lists various things. And then it gets to number 10. It says program participation and outcome during incarceration. This is going to be the perfect opportunity for you to now tell us how you are going to be implementing this new law, what you have done so far. It's been in existence about a year now.
We have reporting requirements, so we send the information.
So how are you doing this? Have you been meeting with your staff? Have you sent in your first statistics on this?
Our staff are required to meet the obligations to send the statistics in.
Have they done that? This has been in existence now about a year. And where can we find those statistics?
What's that?
And where will we find those
You
statistics?
find them in the state reports.
So that if we were to do that, we would find that you have actually, on a quarterly basis, and also there are additional reporting requirements regarding participation in drug examination. And you
All that
are,
stuff, yeah.
Have you had a meeting with all of your staff to be able to implement all of
Yes,
this?
our staff are aware of it. The legislature mandated all kinds of things.
Yes.
The ex-sheriffs cannot implement immediately because they haven't even given us the funding to do half of it. But my point, I want to go back to an important point. Because you really need to hear this. In Massachusetts,
well, go ahead.
no, hear what I'm saying.
Please be respectful. I'm being
I'm
very
not always trying to be rude.
respectful.
I'm
Yes.
saying to emphasize a point. I think it's really important to understand, let me put it that way, that there is this misnomer that somehow, Massachusetts doesn't have the problem. We're 2,200 miles from the border. Massachusetts is the second most common place in the United States of America that you're going to find fentanyl. We are the 6th highest overdose rate in the United States for heroin. Those are facts. So here's my point. When I hear this notion that we shouldn't be concentrating on these things, that's what my mission is. It's what the mission of my staff is, to make sure we're doing everything we can to preserve public safety, to work on rehabilitation inside our place so people don't go back out and commit more crimes.
Excuse me. If you're not concentrating on your primary task, or what you've been elected to do, which is to provide programs, to make sure that recidivism is reduced, to make sure that we are safer.
Well,
so
that's a
people
bad presumption.
This is not part of what you are mandated to do as the sheriff?
Of course it is.
Okay, well, we feel that you're not
Well, you feel that.
concentrating
Okay, I get it.
sufficiently on that part of
So-
the most important part of your role,
Well-
and that you're concentrating, you particularly.
I can't
are
wait till
spending
you
a lot-
come in for your tour. I can't wait. And when you do,
When I speak-
I'm going to let you sit with the programs people and talk to them. And I'm going to
No,
let you...
I want to speak to some of the inmates, provided you will tell
No,
them
you're
that
not
they're
speaking to the inmates. That's not going to happen. That's not going to
If
happen.
they are willing to waive
No, you are not
privacy-
going to come in here and speak to the inmates.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're not, you want to tour the facility, we'll give it to you. You're not going to come
No, I
in here.
wanted to speak, I have actually spoken to some of your inmates, but you're saying that I would not be allowed to speak to any inmates.
Unless you're coming
Even if they were willing to waive their privacy right.
Ma'am,
My
we
name
don't
is-
give tours for you to come in to talk to our population. We don't give tours for people to come in here and incite things that potentially could happen by you raising points. If you want to tour the facility, we're happy to give you one. But we don't allow people to come in here and start talking to the inmates.
But I'm not talking about talking to, ask me some questions.
No, you're not going to come in and ask
So
questions.
you're saying that,
I'm saying no.
we would be allowed to be taken on a tour.
A tour,
and
but
show
not to-
various parts,
but
and
not-
not to have any,
that's right.
no contact with the inmate.
No, you're not going to talk
All
to the
right,
inmates.
okay, then I did, that's.
The answer is no.